Hello, my name is John Loups, and I want to welcome you to your first lesson in Somatic education. Most of the movements that we'll be practicing in somatics, we're going to be practicing flat on the floor. The reason for this being that the brain and the body are more amenable to the changes at the level of the central nervous system when we remove the variable of gravity. Your body will be more amenable to change when we do our practice lying down. So I'm going to begin by asking each of you to lie down as I guide you through your first lesson. Get yourself comfortably positioned on a mat or a carpet and take a relaxing breath or two just to take stock of yourself and get yourself settled down. Now you can practice here with the feet flat and the knees drawn up. Right, you can rest your hands comfortably along by your side, or you can position them across your waist as you prefer, whatever works for you. But during somatics, we're going to be turning the focus of our attention deeply inward. Now, the first lesson, which we call the arch and flatten, I want to familiarize you with the concept of a continuity of body movement. So I'm going to begin here by drawing your attention to your feet. In particular, I'd like you to pay attention to your toes, all 10 of them. Now, what we're going to start doing here is we're going to press the toes down, scrunching them, as it were, down against the floor. Now, if you happen to be barefoot, that's fine. If you happen to be wearing shoes, that works just as well. You can scrunch your toes inside your shoes. Right? But go ahead and scrunch your toes down. Hold them briefly, and then very slowly release that effort. And do that again. Scrunch your toes, and then slowly and completely release that effort. All right, the releasing part is just as important, if not more so, than the scrunching part. Let's try that again. Scrunch the toes, and this time as you scrunch, I want you to notice if you feel movement elsewhere in your body. And release. In particular, when you scrunch your toes, I want you to notice, we'll try this again now, scrunch. Notice if you feel the waist, the pelvis, rolling forward so as to create a discernible arch here in the lower back. Now as you release the scrunching of the toes, you can feel your lower back flattening down in a more relaxed fashion against the floor. So the idea here basically is to develop your ability to move the pelvis in the manner of a rolling pin. You want to be able to roll the pelvis forward and backward. Let's try that one more time. Scrunch those toes, and notice how scrunching the toes sort of instigates the rolling of the pelvis. And then very slowly release that move down. Now we're going to continue rolling the pelvis, but we're going to dispense with our attention to the toes. You can just forget about the toes for the time being. So inhale through your nose as you arch the back and roll the pelvis. Hold briefly. Slowly release that effort and the breath. And let the lower back, the belt line of the back, flatten a little bit more firmly down against the floor. Inhale, arch the lower back. And once again, release that effort and flatten back down. Now I'd like to draw your attention to an inverse correlation between what happens with the toes and the pelvis and what happens with the neck. So this time, If you want, you can scrunch your toes down, but inhale and arch the pelvis. And notice as the pelvis arches, creating that arch in the lower back here, that the chin tucks in and the back of the neck flattens down against the floor. Then, as you release the pelvis and actually flatten the lower back more firmly down against the floor, the tendency is for the chin to lift up and for the neck to arch. So whatever's happening at the lower end of the spine, the exact opposite is occurring at the upper end of the spine. Let's try that 2 more times. Inhale and arch. Nice breath in. Exhale, flatten. And exhale. And once again, inhale and arch. Exhale and flatten. Now I'm going to introduce a slight variation here. I'm going to bring your attention back to your toes, and instead of pressing all 10 toes, I want you to bring your attention to the outer toes, the 2 pinky toes. I want you to press just those toes down. Inhale, press your pinky toes down. And you may notice here that as the pelvis arches, something a little bit different happens with the legs. The legs tend to rotate externally away from each other. Then, as you release the toes, the legs normalize. Let's try that again. Press down the pinky toes as you inhale and feel the legs externally rotating or abducting, as it were. Exhale, flatten, and release. And we'll do that one more time. Press your pinky toes down. Inhale. Exhale. And release. Now, a second variation will have you pressing down the big toes, just the 2 big toes. Let's try that. Inhale and press your 2 big toes down. And notice how that movement causes the legs to internally rotate, to move closer to each other. And release. Inhale, press the big toes down. Feel the lower back arching up, knees drawing closer together. Exhale and release. We'll do that one more time. Inhale, press the toes down, the big toes. Let those legs draw in towards each other. And release. Now we'll try a couple alternating. So press the pinky toes down. And feel the legs moving away from each other. Exhale and relax. And then press the big toes down, causing the legs to adduct. And relax. Put your legs out straight and take a relaxing breath. Take stock of yourself. Draw your knees back up. And at this time, I'll introduce yet another variation. This movement is called the arch and curl. And for this variation, I'd like you to put your hands interlaced behind your head. Now we're going to practice the pelvis part of the movement just as we did with the arch and flatten. So inhale and arch the lower back. Slowly release that effort, flatten the lower back, and as you feel the lumbar or belt line part of the lower back pressing down, lift your elbows, pointing them up toward the ceiling, and then gently lift the head and the elbows towards the knees. And relax back. Now I hasten to add, this is not a Pilates or conditioning type movement. This is not a movement designed to strengthen your gut muscles. Rather, this is a movement designed to elongate, to relax and elongate the muscles of the back and neck. Now let's try that again. Inhale, arch the lower back. Exhale, bring the elbows up and curl, staying within your comfortable limits at all times. Release the elbows back. Now, a common error that people make is they do their arching movement and then they start to lift their head before they flatten the back. There's an important progression of relaxation and re-engagement that occurs here. I'll guide you through this. Inhale and arch one more time. Feel the pelvis roll forward. Now relax the pelvis. Relax the lower back. Press the lower back more firmly down to the floor, not to any point of strain. Point the elbows up and very gently lift the elbows and the head toward the knees. We'll do this 2 more times. Inhale and arch. Exhale and curl. Inhale and arch. Exhale and curl. And put your hands down by your side and relax. Now I want to emphasize that when practicing at Somatics, it's very important that you do so with a somatic mindset. Right? Practicing somatics movements is not like doing exercises at the gym where the speed or the force or the number of repetitions with which you perform certain moves becomes a goal. With somatics, we want to keep the body relaxed and we want to keep the attention of the mind focused deeply within onto our own internal processes at all times. This concludes your first lesson. Arch and flatten, arch and curl.